Happy Friday, everybody. It's Jamie Green, the Solar Queen, your host of Kickstart Conversations, where I get to interview business owners, entrepreneurs, and side hustlers and learn about their business, how they got started, and what they're up to today. So I have Joel and Audrey Buhr on the show today, and they're going to share a lot of great information for you as business owners and how you can use data and marketing and all that to grow your business. So sit tight and they'll be right on. All right, we're live. Welcome, Joel and Audrey.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. How has your week been?
It's been fantastic. It has been a busy week as we got back from Miami earlier this week, and that was a nice journey. But other than that, it's the month of June is off to a roaring start, and we're excited about the potentials there.
Awesome. Well, I know for kids in our area, this is the last week of school. So is that the same with you guys?
Ours have been out for almost 3 weeks now. So.
Oh my goodness. So lucky.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
One comes in and works a little bit. The other one just hangs around and gives everybody mints during the day.
Well, that is so nice. We have a couple of viewers. Good afternoon, Scott Ricard. He's tuning in. Well, just so everybody knows, I have had the pleasure and honor of meeting Audrey and Joel through the 10X community. That's, Grant Cardone's community, and have gotten to know you both a little bit even more through social media, through Clubhouse and live person events and stuff. And so it's really fun to have you both on the show. Can you share a little bit with the audience where you're from and where you're at in the United States and a little bit about your business?
Absolutely. So Audrey and I are based out of Bellevue, Nebraska. So the easy way to find that on the map is look at Omaha, and it's part of the metro. So it's just to the south there. So we've been married for now, it'll be 20 years in September.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We haven't always worked in business together. It's been something that's
on again, off again.
Yeah.
Right now it's on.
Right now it's going to stay on, right?
Yes, it's staying
Absolutely.
on. It's staying on.
Absolutely. So right here in Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha, Nebraska is kind of known as like the telemarketing central, or at least it used to be, and as well as a data center, just because there was main companies here like Experian and American Business Information and so many other companies were based out of the Omaha, Lincoln area in Nebraska, which a lot of people don't know. They would think that those things come from like Silicon Valley or New York City, those type of things. So, but that gives you kind of a little bit of an idea where we're from. We're both natively from Nebraska. Audrey grew up in a small town south of here, Plattsmouth, Nebraska. And I grew up for the most part, in a small town to the west, Grand Island, Nebraska, and moved around a little bit growing up, but settled back down here a little over 20 years, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. I have to say I've never been to Nebraska.
Most people haven't. You only come here if you know somebody to visit, or
it's one of those
zoo. We have a great zoo.
It's one of those drive-through states. So you're usually coming from the east, heading to Colorado or something like that. And you drive
Gotcha. I was a part of a network marketing company many years ago, and they were going to have like an event, a live event, and it was going to be in Omaha. And that was my one opportunity that I was almost going to go to Omaha. I think I was pregnant with my son, and so I didn't want to travel for whatever reason. I don't even remember why. My firstborn and we.
Oh, you don't want to travel then. You're very nervous.
No, my water broke with him at 31 weeks. And so I think that might have been what happened that prevented me from going. Was I was a little too far in pregnancy and everything. So that's another story. But
Warren Buffett's here.
I know Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
Have you met Warren Buffett or seen him around town?
No, I haven't.
We've gone to Berkshire Hathaway Days, but not met him. No.
Well, So, okay, so Nebraska, you both are born and raised in Nebraska. You've been married for 20 years. You've been working on and off together throughout that time frame. Audrey, what's your background in?
My background is in hustle. It's in working hard. Yeah, I graduated and started working right away. My first job when I was 14 was corn de-tasseling, which you probably, I don't know.
Wait, say that again. What was that?
Yeah.
Corn de-tasseling. You walk through the cornfields and you pull off the tassels from the top of the corn. Here, yeah, like that. You pull. And I loved it. I've always loved manual labor, and that's the hard part about working here together. Process, procedure, desk, sitting. I prefer moving around. So that's my biggest challenge.
Gotcha. And you are quite tall, like in real life. And Joel, you're even taller. Like
just a little bit. Dennis Rodman's just a little bit taller than me.
Dennis yes. We met Dennis, being Joel and I met Dennis Rodman a couple of weeks ago in Miami. That was quite the show.
That was interesting.
Interesting is the right way to say that. He was quite interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those things you could say we did that.
Yeah.
Only in Miami.
Only in Miami.
Right.
Okay, so Joel, what is your background in? I know that you're a pilot.
Yeah, I'm a private pilot. So it's not what I do for occupational. I'm like, well, you're gonna go to the airlines? No, I don't want to go to the airlines. It's not my intent. So I mean, my background got started. My parents, to kind of go like way back, my parents got divorced when I was 6, and so when we were growing up, it's like we had, we were very poor. We were, we made the poor look rich, and it was one of those things that if my brother and I, if we wanted anything to spend on anything, barring what we got from Goodwill, we had to go earn the money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how you did it. So as kids, we'd go collect cans. We'd mow yards. We did newspaper routes where you had to go do the collections as well back in that day. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts. You delivered the newspaper, rain, snow, shine, whatever, doesn't matter. And we did things like I remember we started a curb painting business where we would mark the curbs and paint the numbers.
Yeah.
We had quite the hustle going on there. We had a little wagon we'd pull around, and one guy would go sell the door, and the other guy's coming up the street, and you'd mark the doors, and you keep selling them, And so for me, it's like, all I know from before I was even 10 years old is if I wanted to earn something, I had to go make it.
Yeah.
And my parents, even though they got divorced, they stressed the importance of ethics and morals and doing things right. If you say yes, mean yes. If you say no, mean no. And if you give somebody your yes and it's difficult, you do it anyway, and you deliver value. So that kind of carried with me. Audrey mentioned she de-tasseled. I actually de-tasseled as well, as that was one thing. You got up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning and got on the bus and went out to the fields before even the sun was done.
Yeah.
Coming up, and you start hoeing beans or de-tasseling it. And I'm trying to recall what I even got paid. I want to say it was like $4 something an hour.
I made enough to buy myself Doc Martens for senior year. So
that's important.
Right.
So, okay, I'm going to ask 2 questions. What is the importance of de-tasseling?
So in the Midwest, especially in like hybrid agriculture or whatever, what they're doing is they're breeding different corn variants together.
Gotcha.
And so what they'll do is they'll have you yank the tassels of like these 5 rows, and there'll be one row that's not detasseled, and that is
the pollination row.
The pollination row that they're trying to pollinate the other tassel, the other corn with. So that's the reason why they do that.
Okay. My second question is, because you have kids, I have kids, and I just had this conversation with my children. My husband and I had this conversation with our children 2 nights ago at the dinner table. And I said to them, because my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, we have iPads for them. I don't know if you guys have iPads for your kids, but we have iPads. And my daughter tripped and fell. She cracked a part of the screen, even though it was in a screen protector. And then I moved it to a different screen protector. And then a couple of days later, the screen shattered. So then I'm like, oh, bummer. Tried to fix it. It's It's not going to work.
Yeah.
And then I had an old iPad that was broken too. I was going to take it in and get it fixed. And she just decided it would be a great idea to just obliterate this iPad for whatever reason, even though it was inoperable. I was like, well, maybe I'll take it and get it fixed. So now we're out 2 iPads. She's without any devices. And my sons were like, well, just get her a new one. Just like that. Just go get her a new one. And they said, no, she has destroyed 2. We're going to hold off, and like she's going to have to go without it.
Yeah.
And I use the story of growing up. You know, my parents got divorced when I was 12, and there were 4 kids in our family, and 2 went with my mom, 2 went with my dad. And I started working at 16 years old and even before that doing babysitting, but I had to save up my money. I told him, like, I had to save my money up. There were times if I wanted certain kinds of clothes that my mom and dad weren't providing for me, that the bare necessities, I had to go out and save my money and decide how I was going to spend my earnings, as well as I said, I bought my first boom box or stereo that you could play a CD in, like a CD. And they're like, what? And I go, yeah. And it was $100. I had to work hard for that. And they just don't have this concept. So I'm just curious, what is this like? How is it transferred over, you know, to your children, the work ethic that you were raised with, and then what you're doing with your children now?
No, that's a good question. I think it's a good question, especially parents today. You know, there's some value in teaching the children. Hello, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
There's some value in teaching the children, you know, that it's worth working hard to get something. You know, so like our son, we started with him, and we didn't give allowance. He earned it. So he had to help Audrey with cleaning and chores and
he
things
can
like
clean
that.
a house. He's 16 and he can clean a house.
Yeah, and he can clean it well too. So, you know, and now the money that he earns, he works here for us part time. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're not going to go get a job at Chick-fil-A or something like that. It's like, I can teach you business things they won't teach you.
Right.
You know.
Even though that kills him because he's a teenager.
Yeah.
Our daughter had a similar iPad incident, and we did not go out and get her a new one right away. We made her wait.
Right.
And we tried to fix it ourselves with a little kit.
Same.
It's a big investment.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Hi, Pata.
Yeah, our son, he wanted a Pata.
Pata.
A gecko, and we made him save up, and he was so young he couldn't ever earn enough. And
I know. But
we met him halfway with it, but he earned it, and then we surprised him by going to get it with him. So we still made it special, but made him work for it.
Okay, this is the 4-year-old. Can you say hi? See, she's the regular guest of the show. Can you say hi to Joel and Audrey? Audrey? Sorry, I called you Aubrey. Audrey. Say hi. Hi, Audrey. Okay. Can you go play my phone? You can go play my phone. Okay, ask your brother to get you one.
No.
Oh, she's into Band-Aids right now, everybody.
Oh, dollar store.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patty. You rock too.
What Audrey was saying, like with our son, one of the first things I did, because I'm like, you really want this? He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, well, you know, it costs money to feed it, and I'm sorry, but we don't have. It's not that we didn't, but I'm like, we don't have lizard food in the food budget. So how are you going to pay for it?
Right.
And so I let him think about it, and I made him write out a little budget. I'm like, well,
he's like, Amazon, see what you need.
He's like, okay. He goes, well, I can do this much for mom, and she pays me this, right? I can do this job, and you know, we don't pay our kids for normal things that they should help around the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
same. It's got to be above and beyond the standard thing. Yeah.
Trash out because it helps the whole family. I'm not paying you for that.
Clean your room because, well, that's your rent to me.
Yeah.
At the moment, right? So it's just take care of those things. I think Audrey and I are on the same page there as far as like we firmly believe it's like the basic things that children should learn how to do. They shouldn't get paid for. That's where a lot of kids that you see them go crazy. So, I never earned allowance growing up, and so the model of teaching our kids just that model of, hey, if you do this work and you exchange this value, you can get this value. And
right.
that's how that works. And if you don't do this value, because we've had times where our son didn't do a good job, well, guess what happens in real life? You don't get paid.
Yeah, you don't get paid, or you get written up, or you get demoted, or you get let go.
Or because I'm a parent and not a boss, I say, you owe me. You owe me $5 now. Yeah, do that.
Yeah, it works. So
they don't understand.
So you said your son is working for you guys part-time. Let's talk a little bit about your business. Sure. What is your business name? How long have you been in business, and what do you do?
Absolutely. So kind of to explain what we do, the explanation I gave earlier as far as kind of where I started, when I was a teenager, actually, I was working at a telemarketing company, and with a good friend of mine. And my good friends.
You gonna tell who the friend was?
Yeah, I'll get that. I'll get to that. Okay. with a good friend of mine, and I was actually got put onto a B2B program for Occidental Petroleum. Him and I both raised through some good programs for a telemarketing company at the time, and we got in this B2B program for Occidental Petroleum when they were deregulating natural gas. This was in the 90s, and we were using a product. Most of our data the numbers we were dialing on came from Dun & Bradstreet, but when we couldn't find them on Dun & Bradstreet, we were using a product called Business USA from this company called American Business Information, and it was a pretty cool product. And I ended up traveling, actually being picked to go. And this was, I'm 18 years old, and I'm working in Chicago. Flying back and forth to Chicago, selling natural gas on areas of town that I was probably should not have been in. For a number of factors at the time I was there. But we were using this product called Business USA, and it was just so helpful in sales when we were using that, because I got so much information as far as like the businesses I was going to go visit, the business I was working on a deal with, that it helped me close a lot more business. It helped me get to qualified prospects quicker, helped me to increase sales and be top of sales. Simple as that. So I came home from there, and my good friend said, "Hey, Joel, let's go work at American Business Information, because they are headquartered out of Omaha here. We'll be on the phone anyway, and we'll make a ton more money." I'm like, "All right, what are you going to say at 18? You're like, why not, right?" Yes. And so we went to go work at American Business Information. We both did really well. I moved through a few different divisions rather quickly. My goal at the time, I had these grandiose goals of I was going to be a vice president. I was going to climb to vice president. I was going to be one of those young executives, right? And no college degree or anything like that. Well, that kind of quickly ended. And I went to actually, after that, my manager had left as well, and she went to go work for a company called, hey, Justin, how you doing, man? She went to go work for a company called Direct Response, which was a world marketing company. They were a data broker. And so they were brokering data. So essentially selling the same thing I was used to selling at American Business Information, but now as a broker. So we would not just buy from them, but we had now this wide variety of vendors that we could work with that solve client problems to grow their business. And this really, really intrigued me. And I stuck with that for a little while. You can see on my LinkedIn, kind of the history there. And went from there from another company. And then fast forward to 2005. And oh, by the way, that good friend of mine, he's my brother-in-law. It's
my brother.
It's my brother. So, but fast forward to 2005, with the series of events being what they are, I started First Direct. And I started First Direct. The company I was at before went down for some mismanagement, really, is the simple way to say it in a kind way. So I always say, hey, I learned a lot of things of what to do and a lot of what not to do in business. And thankful that I never partook of the what not to do. But so what First Direct, I started First Direct 2005. Our son was 2 months old.
We always can remember the anniversary coming up for First Direct. We just had the 16th anniversary at the beginning of May because our son was 2 months old at the time. He was born in March. So he comes home. I'm staying home with the baby. He's like, I just lost my job. I'm starting a company. I'm like, what? So that's how we started.
And by the way, lost the job is like the company closed down 2 days later. So
It was a good thing.
It was-
it was the right move at the right time.
He was calculating this. He had planned. He had planned ahead, knowing what was going to go down. So it wasn't a crazy whim. It was a plan and a structure, but still shocking to a new mom.
So, so what First Direct does is we provide companies the right information, insights, and execution strategies and solutions so that they can grow their business, they can market. And we work with companies of all size, nationwide and actually internationally. As far as providing them information, different countries have different limitations on data, but nonetheless, our goal is to help you get your message, your product, your service in front of the right people, which is going to accelerate your growth and help you sustainably keep that up and help you execute those strategies and grow your business. Simple as that. To put it all in a nutshell, we help companies grow.
Yeah. So you and I talked a little bit, because I did a little bit of data purchasing, like from a data broker, before I knew exactly what you did.
Yeah.
So, for me, we hear that word data thrown out a lot. We hear data breaches, we hear data this, data that. My question, so if anybody watching if you have a question about data, you're talking to the right people. You can ask the right people right now about any questions you have about data. So I'm going to throw that out there. But my question is, what is data? What kind of data do you often have requested from business owners to provide to their businesses?
Right. So that's an excellent question, because the shape of data that one company needs versus another company needs is going to vary. And it's going to vary based upon also too, nowadays, back in the day, you had telemarketing and direct mail. Really mainly, of course you had other advertising channels, but really telemarketing, direct mail, and those are the two main channels that you use. And so you're going to be getting a mailing list or a telemarketing list. So, but now the game, many years later, the game has evolved quite a bit. And so you have, of course, email marketing data, you have big data, you have the really cool stuff, which is device level data, audience information that can be used on so many different channels, like on Facebook and TikTok and Twitter, to target the right people. The opportunities really have expanded. So to answer the question, though, when it comes down to when we work with a company, a lot of times the first, some of the first few questions I'm going to ask is, well, how are you marketing right now? And what's really been working for you? Or who's your audience? Who's the audience that you want to go after? We have a home improvement client, for example. They sell home improvement products. They actually manufacture it. They have showrooms across the U.S. And we have, for example, built them a very strong solution of recommendations of criteria to reach the high equity homeowners that are in the right position to invest in their home. And so that little segment of the population is their ideal person they should spend all their advertising money on, right? But beyond that, Justin's talking about geofencing data, and we'll touch on that in just a second. But beyond that, there's other recommendations that we'll make from a consulting standpoint with a company. For example, this same client, we recommended a solution of specific new borrower data. And a lot of people dismiss that when they're in the home improvement field. They're like, well, they're a new borrower. They've spent all their money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this client thought as well. But we got them to do a side-by-side test. And this just tells you like the power of data. Our control group was working phenomenally well. It's a program we've been running for over 5 years for them. They've gone from about like 10 locations now to well over 80 showrooms that they're pulling data. And we're talking millions and millions of records, each time. But this little sample that we did, they did a side-by-side control, and they saw a 31% increase in response and a 35% increase on spend for each conversion. So if you now think about it, same marketing piece, just a little bit different tweak of data, and they increased their sales by that much.
Wow.
By 30%.
That's incredible.
So
that's really, because I know just a little bit of the little bit that I have done with data collection, right, just through Facebook marketing. Because when you market, you get data. back.
You get some information back. Yeah.
You get information back, but it's all, the data, but a lot of people don't know what to do with it.
Right.
So let's talk about Justin's example, or, the story about the geofencing. Talk a little bit more about that.
So, I mean, Uncle G story.
Okay.
Growth Con.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So a good example of how data has evolved and changed would be an example of like your cell phone. You have the cell phone and you even updated to the latest iOS, but guess what? I guarantee you've done. One of those apps said, hey, can we use your location? You're like, well, yeah, I want my location because that's what this app is useful for, is to, to share a little bit about the right information based upon where I'm at. Well, inevitably what happens is you're traveling around the city, and where you go says a lot about you, of course.
Right.
And that's the information that big data can really capture. Now, the nice thing that I want to assure people that if they're watching this is don't over worry about it. Trust me, the only way to really avoid getting captured on data is to live on a mountain and cut off from all technology. So unless you're willing to make that level of commitment, it's kind of, you're in. But the beautiful thing is how data is used by marketers, by good ethical marketers. It's used in a way that doesn't scare the pants off of you. Used more subtly than you realize. But this information, like for example, the geofencing data, based upon where this device is sitting at, I can draw an audience based upon a physical location. So what Justin was referring to is the community that you and I are part of. I've often, many times, and I still do it, will geofence the growth conferences, the workshops, or those types of things. And I use that information that I lift out of there, so to speak, of those physical cell phones, those devices, not the cell phone numbers, but the devices. And I use that as my targeting on platforms like Facebook and TikTok or Snapchat. And so it's really powerful because, hey, if I know you were at the growth conference in March in Miami this year,
I'm laughing out loud now because I see your sponsored ads,
right,
of you doing that dancing thing. And I'm like, now I'm understanding how I got targeted.
Yeah. So there's two ways I targeted you. One is because your device was physically there at growth conference. Okay. And the second way is obviously some simple retargeting. But the power of that is just phenomenal. Like even a couple of years ago when I was at Marlins Stadium, I walked into that event at Marlins Stadium, and I had people come up to me because they're like, well, you look familiar. Are you part of the ambassador program? I'm like, no, but you probably saw this ad.
Yeah.
And it was an ad that I ran actually of my daughter and I. See, I think I have it actually here, or one of them.
This is so genius. Like my mind's being blown right now. Because the data that businesses would use to market to their audience or ideal customer, especially if it's something that will help them solve a problem in their life, like because that's what businesses are, why business exists. It's to solve a problem, but it just, my mind is blown by this concept of how to use, doing this geofencing data.
Right.
I can blow it one more step in just a second. Let's let Joel share this.
Yeah.
Are you sharing?
Yeah. So
are you sharing?
So this, if it's okay if I share here real quick, Jamie, and let's see if it lets me share the video file real quick.
All the things we don't think about in the modern world.
Well,
yeah, let me see if I can let you share. Screen share? Nope, that's not right.
You got it. No? Do you got it?
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. So this was actually, now we had a number on it and stuff like that, but I ran an ad like this for like the longest time of everybody that was at GrowthCon 2. And so this was, I figured, hey, you're a 10Xer, you can have a little bit thicker skin. Was my hope. So
hey, 10Xer, yeah, you.
Hey, she gets it, and she knows where you were, and I do too. And I want to help you do the same thing for you. So this was a little bit more just a blunt approach, but I'm really surprised actually Facebook let me do it. to be honest. So it's
But real application for you, if there's a home show, like we get to have home shows again, and
Right.
you want to advertise solar, you
Right.
could do this thing. You could do it right there, a whole audience, whether they hit your booth or not, whether you had a booth or not, they could see your ad.
right.
Exactly. Yes, that is so smart.
It works for any
Tape. She wants to use tape.
Tape.
Take
It's all fun. Wait till
Here you go.
later.
That's the fun age. That's the fun part of
It
it.
is, that really is a fun age.
It is. I have to be very patient with her. Okay, do you want any more tape?
Yes.
Okay, but you got to go and take it and draw out in the other room, okay?
Okay.
All right, here you go, because Mama's still having her show right now. Okay, make sure when you...
I love it. I love it. I miss that.
Too bad we didn't live closer, because you could take her for the dinner.
Ours is 9. She's getting so big. Did she make an ad for you lately or no? She wants
No.
to, but it's a little harder to script and control her than when she was 5 or 6. 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think to say a lot of things like sign the deal, and I use that a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the opportunities for businesses today too. There's so many different ways to just kind of explore it and expand it.
Can I give a quick example of what I did today? I have a client who called and he's looking for a very specific industry, and he knows how many people are in that industry. It's construction related, but it's small and it's specific. And he's like, I have my call center Googling it, but that's taking a lot of time and money. And if I could just get a list from you, even though it's small, even though it's only a minimum, it saves me time and gets me exactly who I need. Tell me what you got.
Right.
So very specific data. Yeah, there's a lot of data out there, but when you can get it compiled in a list ready to go, the time it saves you, makes you the money you need, gets the results you're looking for, it's priceless.
I love it. It is priceless, and it does save time. Otherwise, you're going to pay someone to go out and get all that data, and it's going to take months and years to get that.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can spend money to get more time, or spend time to try to earn more money.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And so, or a combination of both there. And so that's where this would apply for a business. So any business that's out there, the solution may change. If you're a brand new business, usually my recommendation is, well, let's start you with a list, a simple list. Let's pick up the phone.
Hit the list.
You're going to spend more time trying to figure out all these other pieces. Right now, you just need to prove the concept.
So I have a question about that. Since you guys are the data providers for companies, do you coach them on how, not to necessarily cold call, but I always wonder, how do people get my information? So do you kind of tell your customers how to break that? Like if somebody on the other end that actually answers a cold call, do you kind of tell them coach them on how to let the prospect know how they got their information?
Well, when that comes up, yeah, because that's important. Because if the business says, well, I bought your list from First Direct, guess what we get? We get a lot of phone calls of maybe someone,
it has happened.
Someone that's very upset. And I've had those, and I've patiently worked through those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I asked them.
I have to. I'm like, why would you say that? Why would you say that?
Yeah, it's
you're on a list that says you're looking to buy a new car in 6 months. Like, why would you intro with that? That's stuff. No. And secondly, no.
Right.
Where'd you get that list?
So right away, it's going to make a consumer shut off. You just killed the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know this as well. You do Cardone University like us, and so it's like, hey, you don't start off with the creeper information of we know where you were last week.
I know what you did last summer.
I can get away with it on my ads to 10Xers because guess what? You should have a little thicker skin, and I do know where you were.
Yeah.
But really, what we try to encourage, especially if a lot of the clients that we've worked with know better. They know that you shouldn't say things that are going to make the individual paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, a good guide though for any business that's listening to this, any business owner, marketer, salesperson, Yeah, you wanna introduce the call with, "Hey, the reason for my call is I'm reaching out to neighbors in the area." Maybe it's something like that if you're calling consumers. Businesses, you can be a little bit more to the point, but you're still gonna open up with a good, "Hey, this is so and so from this company. The reason for my call is," and there you go. This is the purpose of my call, and you're gonna go into your pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't offer coaching, but we do correct if it's needed.
Right.
Yes, definitely.
I do a lot of data work for a major coffee chain that many of us may know. And we do a lot of every single month, we provide a lot of data that's coded. We track analytics coming back of those people that redeem coupons. And it's always interesting to me. It is always interesting to me where someone will get a coupon and they'll complain that it got sent to the wrong name. It just used the coupon. However, some of the things that some people do get concerned about, maybe some people in the audience have had this happen before, is maybe they move to a new address. Kirk, come on, man, let's do this. Right after this, let's roll. I got your number. I'll call you. So what some situations have happened is where someone has moved to a new address, and then they have like an old relative, maybe a really bad person in the family, okay? And that person in the family who's never lived at that address now gets mail there. And so here's how that happens. How that happens is it can happen a couple ways. It can happen by what's called a national change of address. If you enter a family move, even though that person may not have been there, they try to use that. But it happens with something else called what's called PCOA, which is proprietary change of address. And they're trying to find correlations between the name Green and where they saw you at the same address 8 years ago as this person. And so they're able to connect that deep back, and they're really digging deep to try to update the record.
Is that like the whole idea? So like if you go into a people search in those websites,
Right.
and you have like people that they may be associated with, or, it's scary how much data is out. I mean, public data that's out there.
And that's the thing to keep in mind. It is public data.
Yeah, it's public. Can't run away from public data.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, your family, if you had an address years ago when you were all still a united family, you had labels with your name, you sent pen pal letters, you were out there. You lived at that address when so and so also lived at that address.
Yeah.
So to spare anybody having too much stir over this, if you get that, just simply submit back to the company. Hey, please have this name removed from your records. That's it. So that's the only way. Eventually these things bleed themselves out, so to speak. Things off of databases. You can contact some of the major compilers of data like Axiom, Experian, Knowledge Base, or Epsilon, and there's so many. There's a few other Data Axle or Database USA, and they all honor those opt-outs if you request them. So there's
but
a choice.
But data being used in the right way, in the right targeted manner, can really help a business grow and expand.
Absolutely, absolutely, it can. That's why a lot of times when we'll talk to a company, we'll explain that, hey, data, the right information has a potential of a 6x, return. If you look at all of your other components in a marketing campaign, if you look at creative work, all those different things, the data itself is the largest multiplier. But oftentimes people look at that last and they don't plan around that. That should be almost your center point of hub. So if you're planning a new campaign to try to grow your business, like Letty here, Letty is going to be a killer South Florida real estate agent. Or already is. So the audience that she's going to go after, she needs to really hone in on those people that are in that prime time of possible moving and fit the price point ability or equity position. And that's where she puts her name in front of.
Well, right? and think about how being so niched down or very super targeted about, and the data is there to be able to get to the right audience. I don't want to waste my time, resources, energy, or effort in marketing and targeting to the wrong audience. I only want the ones that are like, I don't want to say serious buyers, but very serious customers.
Yes.
And unless you're like launching a new brick and mortar business in a new zip code or area, maybe then you canvass all the zip codes. But for so many business owners, that are really niched down or very specific, you don't want to waste that time. I mean, that's my opinion. I think you're nodding, Audrey. So I'm thinking you're thinking, yeah, that's the right approach.
You want the targeted list, the right age, the right income, the right side of the street for solar, facing the right direction. You want the right list because you're going to waste marketing dollars and time. Throwing it out to everybody is not always the key. It depends, like you said.
Yeah.
But target
sniper rather than the shotgun approach, right?
Right.
Yes.
So and like Letty's mentioning digital here. Digital. You got to realize what your KPI is, your key performance indicator. Of course, the end result is we all want a customer.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is the market may not know who in the world you are, and so the question comes down to how much are you willing to spend to find out how much it costs to get a customer initially, and it may be a lot to find out all that it takes to get it to work. But once you found out that formula, that can be reversed and fine-tuned so you're not spending that same massive amount initially.
Yeah.
And so any company, when you think about it, like you and I have met many business owners in the 10X community, and they're maybe trying to grow a multi-million-dollar business, but they get hesitant to spend $500.
Yeah, it kind of blows my mind.
So
it's yeah.
Right? Does it make sense? So what are you willing to spend to find out how much it costs to get a customer in advertising? So when you move into this game of advertising, you're either going to give up your time and go hustle the streets like mad, and maybe that's what you got to do initially, but eventually you start getting to the point where you need to build your attention. And so like digital marketing might have two objectives. The first objective usually is going to be for branding. It's going to be for awareness.
Yep.
So I advertise heavily to the 10X community. Why? I want my presence known. Simple as that.
I think you've done a pretty good job at that, Joel.
Right. But then I'm going to go show up.
Not being annoying. It's endearing and funny.
So we'll figure out some other ones that. But then you got to go show up though too. So the encouragement I would say for a lot of companies too is if you hire a firm to do marketing for you digital, realize that there's still going to be something you have to do.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not going to be able to just say, well, I pushed the button and I gave you money. Get me customers.
It's like building a funnel, putting it out there and expecting people to just discover it. You have to drive traffic to it.
Yep.
She gets it.
Exactly.
I love it. Yeah.
Precisely. So we've had some clients where we've built them beautiful funnels that we know are the first phase of working.
Mm-hmm.
And they stop there and they don't want to spend money on traffic.
Yeah. I mean, we always hear that. Are you willing to spend $1 to make $2? And if anyone says no, they're crazy. In my opinion.
Well, are you willing to spend $3 to make $2?
Some would say no, but it depends on what is the product and services or lifetime value of that customer.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
it really has to come with the mind.
Yeah.
Cute. No.
Now she has decided to do art on herself. Oh my goodness. Well, okay. We have gone 13 minutes over what we thought we were going to discuss. I mean, I'm a geek about this kind of stuff, so I could keep talking. But she's needing a little bit of love and attention right now. But not only are you guys data providers, but you are a marketing firm.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Joel, you shared a little bit with me in Miami, some of the things that you guys offer, but where can people, I know where I'm going to share where people can reach out to you guys. Your website is firstdirectmarketing.com.
Perfect. Yep.
And you and Audrey. I know, Audrey, you go on your Instagram live quite a bit, but
Yeah.
they can reach out and find you on Kira, honey. Instagram. And thank you, Letty, for enjoying this live. I'm really glad. I hope it's providing my intention is that it provides value to everyone who's watching. And also to, if this is something that you need for your business to kind of fast track, or not even fast track. Well, I think it's a fast track. Like, why waste your time and resources trying to do it on your own?
It's not a fake acceleration either. It's not something where you're just band-aiding something, right? So we work with companies on all different levels. So as you mentioned, a marketing firm. So we start a lot of companies with the right list, the right information. Sometimes it feels old school, but the old school works.
Yeah.
Watch out for a millionaire.
All of the major corporations out there, billion-dollar corporations, use direct mail. It still works.
Yeah.
But we go all the way from, on a marketing firm standpoint, we go all the way from handling the right information, getting the companies the right information, whether they're going to use it traditionally or digitally, helping them understand the insights so they can measure this, and then the execution. So whether that's building funnels, whether that's design, print and mail, email marketing, helping them basically fulfill that side of it.
That's awesome. Well, we already know Kirk is going to contact you. What's that?
I said I'll get him the contract right now.
Yeah,
we'll write it up.
Have you heard enough to make a decision?
Absolutely.
Right here. Well, I really appreciate you both coming on today. I know that you're all over the social medias, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it sounds like. So, yeah. So
he keeps walking in and videoing me, and I have no clue what's going on. So those are real reactions, people.
I was really entertained by there was one that he did the other day, and I was like, that is so funny. I wish I remember what the topic was, but you were like, what your expressions were
he seriously walks in while I'm in the middle of doing work. I'm like, you're lucky I'm not on the phone. He makes sure I'm not on the phone. Yeah. But those are genuine.
I love it. Well, thank you.
I don't.
We like to have some fun here. Even as we add more people, we've grown a lot over the last couple of years, and so even as we add more people, I want to have fun.
Yeah. So, well, I think it's important to have fun. If you're not having fun in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for being on this week's episode of Kickstart Conversations, and sharing how you started the business. I mean, for you to be since 2005 and make it through the 2008 financial crisis and through COVID and everything.
Yeah.
My goodness, that's just amazing.
Biggest year was 2008. It was great.
Don't retreat. Keep doing it.
Yeah, keep going, right?
Don't waste a good recession.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Well, right? Because you can't contract. You have to keep going. That's like, I kind of think right now for people that are in employees type situations, I say employee because you're business owners and whatnot, but there's so many opportunities out there right now because so many employers are trying to hire. And so don't run, go get the ideal, perfect job, dream job you want. If you're not a business owner, go out and get it right now while people are out there collecting their unemployment checks. Go get that dream job.
Lean in. Right? There's opportunity. Yeah, exactly. There's tons of opportunity. There's a lot of businesses out there that are just looking for good people that want to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you both, and hopefully see each other again at some 10X event. And thank you for bearing with my daughter, Kira. There she is. 10X. 10X. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Sit tight. I'll be right back with you both. I almost said y'all. I actually do say y'all sometimes, and I'm not even from Texas. Okay, so sit tight. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for watching today's show with Kira and me and Audrey and Jay. Kira likes to show up every now and then in the show. So please reach out to Audrey and to Joel for anything that you have questions about, or if you want to utilize their services. And next week, I'm going to have David King on the show, and he's going to come on just a second, Kira. And he's going to talk about Not necessarily health insurance benefits, but different ways that people can get medical services for a low monthly price. So he's going to come on next week. Until then, oh my goodness, my daughter, I love her so much and she wants to touch the microphone. Have a great week. Happy weekend to all of you. Stay happy, healthy, and we'll see you then. Okay, bye guys.